Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to Dockerize a PowerShell application, a small web application built using PowerShell board base HTML module, and it's backed up with a Simply SQL module used to interact with the MySQL database. So we're going to build a small front end and a backend application. We're going to interact with that by storing some records on the MySQL database, and for that, we're going to have some web user interface. We're going to run this in, through a Docker Compose and also over the Minikube. So for that, first I'm going to build an application, name it as a pod UI. So this is a web interface which has a couple of form fields. It can be any fields, something like an employee ID, first name, last name, whatever you wish to collect the information and store it on the MySQL database. And I have built it using the Metro 4 framework, and that's very handy and helpful to build a glossy web app. But I have not done that glossy or a shiny web application because I just want to make a demonstration building a small form to collect the employee information. And I'm going to Dockerize that. So once that's done, I'm going to build another Docker container, name it as a DB MySQL. So that is going to have my database and a table. So MySQL, as I said, and it is again a Docker container. So the pod UI, I'm going to build it locally, and then I'm going to run everything on local on my Windows box. Okay. So I'm not going to host it on the cloud for now, but I have it in my plan. Right. So for this, I have got a couple of tools installed on my local machine, on my local host. So Docker Compose, Minikube. As I said, it's built using PowerShell, so I have a PowerShell default in my machine. But I have installed Board, PSHTML, and Simply SQL. And of course, I need a MySQL. I do have it in my local machine, but I have used it in my container Docker container. All right, so this is my employee form. So I'm planning to collect some information like a first name, last name, city, country, and a mobile, which is going to be my web UI. And when I click a submit button, it's going to store the record in the MySQL. So this is how my database table looks like. So the table name is employee. It has got first name, last name, city, country, and mobile as columns. And I do have another field called ID, which is nothing but an employee ID considered to be. And every time I insert a record, it auto increment by one. So the first record is going to be one, and the consecutive will continue to be 2, 3, and 4, and so on. So that's going to be my columns. It's simple as that. I'm going to collect the information and store it in MySQL. And so the PowerShell application is going to be containerized. So let me quickly show how this works. I have got my code base here. So let me open up my Visual Studio Code and show you the folder structure. I've got an application folder, and I've got a folder called dump, which contains a SQL script to create a table, my SQL table. And I've got a views folder, which has got an index.ps1. This is the page considered to be a landing page. Okay, so when I start my web server, it's going to run this code, and then it's going to get some kind of a web application. So app.ps1 is my entry point. So whenever I spin up my server, it's going to import the Simply SQL module and start a pod server. I'll leave the links about for HTML Simply SQL, so you can go through it. It's going to be pretty much interesting module, so you can learn a lot using that. So now I've got two routes. One is going to be the home, so it is going to run the index.ps1 to get the landing page, and other one is form data. So when I push a submit button, this form data route is going to be a post method and this invokes so that it establishes a connection to MySQL and store the data. So how this works? So let me quickly go ahead and do a Docker Compose up. So I'm going to use Docker Compose up. I do a build. I run it in detach mode, and I just say force recreate. So if everything is good, this is going to bring up two containers, and it's multi-container. It's interconnected, and it helps me to collect the information and store it in my SQL database. So let me quickly open up my Chrome browser. Let me open my browser, localhost 3000. This is where my application is hosted. It's running in port 3000. You can check that out in the code. So when I start the port server, the port is 3000. Okay. And it's HTTP. I'm running in HTTP. So now I'm gonna key in some information. Okay. So now I got a response back. I'm just giving this information for the demonstration purpose. You can again bring up some kind of a fancy HTML and show it however you want, or that makes or enhance the user experience. So now that I've got my first name, last name, city, all these information, I need to quickly check the database table whether this record is inserted. May quickly go to my container apps. I can see my container is running. I've got my DB, MySQL, and also my web database. So now I just go to the command line interface of my database. Okay, let me quickly type in a command called MySQL, show databases. This helps me to list all the databases available in my MySQL. So local DB is the one I have given as my database. It's there in my code. You can see in the connection string. So let me come to my MySQL container. I need to say use local DB and then say show tables, just to make sure that you listed all the tables available. My table name is employee, as I said. Copy employee. And now is execute the command select start from employee. You can see there is a record Chenvi, Bengaluru, India, whatever the number, a mobile number I have given. This is the first record. So let me quickly go back to my landing page, refresh my page, and then just give some information. I'm giving another employee information, and I've got the response back. It's all good. Back here to my command line interface, just do select start from employee again. You can see here the ID is auto incremented by 1, and then I've got my information. So this is pretty much cool and simple, but nothing interesting, right? So what I've done is I just used a Docker Compose, and I executed a couple of commands which got on my web interface, and it's communicating with my MySQL container, and it's storing the information. Now I need to run this on Minikube. So that's pretty much interesting. So let me go back to my Docker desktop and just remove this container which is running. I don't want these images. All right, let me just remove these images. And I've got my Minikube installed as well. So now let me check my Minikube status. It takes a couple of minutes to start. So let me quickly go and start the Minikube. And when I execute a command Minikube start, it's going to do a couple of things in the background. And you see images, containers, stuff in the Docker desktop. So I already have it. So you can see that I've got the image here. It's in use. And you can see now my container is running. All right, so it's doing something. Let it do. Meanwhile, I'll just quickly go and show the Minikube deployment YAML. So over here, what I've done is I've got a deployment YAML definition. Again, as I explained in my PPT or showed in my PPT, I've got a web interface called Pod UI, and also I do have another container called DB MySQL. I've already pushed my image in my repository, and I tagged it to Pod UI version 3. And that's the container port is going to be 3000, and my SQL database port is going to be 3306. Of course, it's not a production ready. It's just for a demonstration purposes. So I'm allowing an empty password for my SQL database. You can plan however you want, or whatever the security that your company is recommending you to do. But for a learning purpose, it's good. It's not a problem at all. I can continue to do it because my data is not confidential. And I'm mounting up a volume because I just want to make sure that I have the data. Whenever my pod is crashed, I need to make sure I persist it. And here I have got a config map. Why I need this is because I need to have a file called initialization SQL, and that is going to create a local DB if it's not existing, and then it just make sure that I'm getting into the local DB to create a table. So when I hook up a container, I'll be having a database and a table, and I do have a persistent volume claim. I'll leave this link in the description to learn more about what exactly the persistent volume claim is. But definitely, I'm going to get in detail in my upcoming videos, more about volume mounts and more about network. Excellent. So now that it's up and running, all good. So what do I do now? So let me quickly go and see my images is good. My containers is good too. Now what I do is I just quickly go and check Minikube dashboard. Excellent. It's going to bring up a dashboard to see what's there in my cluster. There's nothing to display here. I don't have any services. I don't have any pods running. But yeah, I do have a Kubernetes services running, the default one, but not the one which we created. Not a problem. Let me stop this and let me go and run kubectl apply FNF. So my YAML file is a Minikube deployment. I'm going to apply this. So this is going to enact and it creates the container. Let's see how that works. So now that it created a deployment and also it has got a config map it created and a persistent volume claim. We don't need to get into nuances for now. Don't get into more detail. We just want to make sure we achieve our requirement. That's to hook up a web application or Dockerize the PowerShell application and enjoy running it using Docker Compose and also using the Minikube. Now, what I want to do is I just want to make sure I expose it to a service. Before that, let me check the dashboard one more time. Minikube dashboard, and what do I see here? I see some issues. It says 0 nodes available, one persistent volume claim, MySQL data is okay. I don't know what's. Now I see everything is up and running. That's cool. I don't see a services. So now that I've got a deployment in place, I just want to make sure I expose the service. So I just say kubectl get deployments. I've got a code UI as my deployment name. So I just say kubectl expose deployment code UI. Now back again to dashboard. And let me close the previous browsers. I can go to the services. I can see the code UI services exposed. Now let's see how my application works. For that, I do kubectl get service. So I've got code UI as a service. So Minikube service code UI. Before running this, I want to show you the status of the pod. Kubectl get pods FNA. I've got one pod in which I've got two containers running. All right. So let me show you that. Kubectl describe pod, and this is my pod name. So here you can see I've got my pod UI container, it's a container ID. I have another container ready for DB MySQL. That's good. I just want to confirm that things are in place. So now that I can do Minikube service code UI, push enter. And now I can access the application. This is listening in port 64638, but for now, don't worry about it. I've got it in my local host. I just want to make sure I access the logs. Let me open up one more console host. So, all right, right on. Okay, let me go to the projects quickly so I can try to get all the files and information. Good. Kubectl get pods name. So I've got my pod name here. Kubectl. Okay. Kubectl logs this pod name, and namespace is default, and my container name is pod UI. You can see I see the logs here. It's sitting in port 3000, but that's okay. Let me go back here and try to key in some information. Yeah, and push enter. I got a response here, but I'm not really sure whether it worked. Okay, I see some response here, and looks like it worked. So how do I confirm it? So let me access the MySQL table and check the record. Let me quickly log in to my MySQL. So for that, I'm going to use a command called kubectl, and then my pod name exec, my pod name -it, and then comes is my namespace container bin. This is a command I want to run. So if I push enter, I'm not really sure. Okay, I think I made a mistake here. Yeah, now I'm in the pod UI, but the MySQL database is running in DB MySQL container. Sorry about that. Let me get out of it, and I'm going to do db-mysql. Push enter. Yes. I don't know. That's okay. Just getting into MySQL and check for show databases. Okay. Use local underscore db, and now select start from employee. I got a record. So let me quickly go back to my application, refresh it. So this time I'm going to give demo1. So demonstration, whatever the string, okay, some numbers, and push a submit button. So I've got the response. So if you see, look at the information here. I've got a first name demo1, and pretty much simple and straightforward. I got demo1 demonstration, okay, and I can see the auto increment by 1. So it's that simple. We can use a couple of modules in PowerShell to make a small, call it as a full stack application for our learning purpose. In our next video, I'll try to cover a lot more about my learnings in Kubernetes and also the networking concepts in Kubernetes. Thanks a lot for watching the video.